Dr. Emma Taylor stepped out of her car and onto the crumbling asphalt of the abandoned asylum's parking lot. The towering structure loomed before her, its facade a maze of ivy-choked brick and shattered windows. A century-old monolith, it seemed to whisper secrets to the wind. Emma felt an eerie sense of nostalgia wash over her, as if she had finally returned to a place she'd never known she'd been. The letter from the solicitor had arrived just a week ago, informing her of her distant relative's passing and the unexpected inheritance of this decaying edifice. As she entered the musty foyer, a chill coursed through her veins. The air was heavy with the scent of rot and decay. Emma's eyes adjusted to the dim light, and she began to explore the labyrinthine halls, her footsteps echoing off the walls. She stumbled upon a door hidden behind a tattered curtain, and the sign above it read, "Patient Records," in faded letters. The room was a treasure trove of dusty files and yellowed documents, each one whispering tales of the asylum's dark past. Emma's fingers danced across the shelves, tracing the spines of the files, until one caught her attention. Echo. A young girl admitted with no memory, suffering from a peculiar condition known as the forgetting. A shiver ran down Emma's spine as she delicately opened the file, releasing the whispers of a long-forgotten life. The file's yellowed pages revealed a fragmented narrative, as if the words themselves were struggling to recall the events they described. Echo's doctor had noted a peculiar phenomenon. The girl's memories seemed to unravel like threads from a tapestry, leaving behind only an aching sense of loss. The more Emma read, the more she became entwined in Echo's story, as if the whispers in the file were seeping into her own mind. She began to experience strange, vivid dreams, where shadows danced upon walls and forgotten voices whispered her name. The corridors of the asylum seemed to grow longer, the silence more oppressive, as if the very walls were watching her. Emma heard faint whispers in the empty halls, echoes of Echo's own experiences, or so she thought. The words were indistinct, but the sorrow and fear that accompanied them were palpable. As she delved deeper into the file, Emma became convinced that Echo's condition was not a disorder, but a desperate attempt to repress a traumatic event. Her obsession with uncovering the truth grew, driving her to explore the asylum's depths, to unearth the secrets that lay hidden beneath the decay. The darkness seemed to be coalescing around her, as if the shadows themselves were guiding her toward some terrible revelation. And then, she stumbled upon the basement door, hidden behind a tattered arras, with a sign that read, "Authorized personnel only." The air that wafted out was heavy with the scent of rust and neglect, and Emma felt an inexorable pull, as if she was being drawn into the very heart of the asylum's darkness. As she made her way down the creaking stairs, the whisper seemed to grow louder, the words still indistinct, but the anguish and terror that accompanied them unmistakable. The basement was a labyrinth of narrow corridors and cold, gray rooms, the walls lined with rusted medical equipment and the remnants of long-abandoned experiments. Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she navigated the dark, dusty spaces, her footsteps echoing off the walls. And then she found it, a small, hidden room, tucked away in a forgotten corner of the basement. The door was old and rusted, but it creaked open with a push, revealing a single unmarked tape on an old, dusty recorder. Emma's hands trembled as she inserted the tape and pressed play, the whispered conversation that filled the room sending shivers down her spine. The words were faint, but the horror and desperation that accompanied them were palpable, and Emma felt a creeping sense of dread as she realized the true extent of the atrocities that had been committed within the asylum's walls. The tape ended abruptly, leaving Emma standing in stunned silence. The only sound, the creaking of the old recorder, and the faint, whispery echoes that seemed to come from all around her. And then she heard her own voice, whispering a single, chilling word. Remember. As the whispered word faded away, Emma's mind reeled in a maelstrom of confusion and trepidation. The dim, flickering light of the single dusty bulb in the hidden room seemed to pulse in rhythm with her racing heartbeat, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The air was heavy with the scent of decay and neglect, and the silence that followed the tape's abrupt end was oppressive, like a physical weight pressing down upon her. She felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead as she stumbled backward, her hand still clutching the tape recorder, her eyes fixed on the old device as if it held some hidden truth. The whispers, now silent, seemed to still linger in her mind, echoing the faint, raspy voice on the tape. And Emma's thoughts were a jumbled mix of fear, curiosity, and a growing sense of dread. The creaking of the old recorder, the faint hum of the bulb, and the soft, whispery echoes that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves all blended together to create an atmosphere of foreboding, as if the room was waiting with bated breath for her next move. Emma's breath came in short, sharp gasps, and her eyes darted wildly about the room, searching for some clue, some hidden message that would unlock the secrets of the mysterious tape. Her fingers, still trembling, released their grip on the recorder, and it clattered to the floor, the sound echoing through the room like a death knell. The sudden noise made her jump, and for a moment, she was frozen, her heart pounding in her chest as if she was poised on the precipice of some terrible revelation. And then, as she stood there, the silence began to seep back in, like a chilling fog that crept into the room, shrouding everything in an impenetrable mist. Emma's thoughts, once a jumbled mix of fear and curiosity, began to coalesce into a single, terrifying question. What had happened in this place, and what secrets lay hidden behind the whispers and the forgotten voices? The room, once a mere space, had become a threshold, a doorway to a dark and foreboding world, and Emma felt herself being drawn, inexorably, toward the abyss that lay beyond. The darkness seemed to be coalescing around her, taking on a life of its own, and she felt herself becoming lost in its depths, as if she was being consumed by some ancient, malevolent force. As she stood there, frozen in terror, the shadows in the room seemed to deepen, like dark, liquid pools that threatened to engulf her. The air grew colder, the silence more oppressive, and Emma felt herself becoming one with the darkness, her mind merging with the whispers and the forgotten voices. And then, like a spark of electricity, a memory flashed through her mind, a fleeting glimpse of a young girl, with eyes that seemed to hold a deep, unutterable sorrow. The image was gone, vanished into the darkness, leaving Emma shaken, her mind reeling with the implications. She knew in that moment that she had to uncover the truth, no matter the cost, for she had become a part of the asylum's dark, twisted world, and there was no escape. The darkness seemed to be closing in around her, the shadows deepening, like a living, breathing entity. Emma knew she had to move, to act, before it was too late. With a sense of growing urgency, she turned, her eyes scanning the room, searching for some clue, some hidden message that would unlock the secrets of the mysterious tape. And then she saw it. A small, almost imperceptible mark on the wall. A faint, handwritten note that seemed to read, "Look again at Echo's file." The words sent a shiver down her spine, and Emma knew in that moment that she had to return to the patient records room, to re-examine the file, and to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within its yellowed pages. The darkness seemed to be waiting for her, patiently, like a predator, and Emma knew she had to move, to act, before it was too late. With a sense of growing trepidation, she turned and began to make her way back through the winding corridors, the shadows closing in around her, like a dark, suffocating shroud.